Hey guys, Jet Setting Jen here. Today we're talking all about medical tourism, specifically in Turkey. And the reason we're talking about Turkey is because not only is it a great destination to visit just as a normal tourist, but it's also really great if you need to do any type of medical procedure or medical testing specifically. And I went there last year actually to do some of this myself. So let's get into it. The most common treatments or medical procedures that people are going to Turkey for are, of course, as I mentioned, medical testing. So, this is like extensive medical testing that you would think about doing maybe once a year, where they're testing just kind of all of your vital organs, making sure everything's working properly, making sure our levels for everything are good. This kind of testing in the US is usually quite expensive, and especially the cardio test where they test your heart and, kind of just how everything works together. They also include some ultrasounds in this testing. The normal cost for a US citizen to do this kind of test at a lot of the hospitals in Turkey is about $800. And this is like a full day of testing. Okay. The other most common things are hair transplants, facelifts, and nose jobs. These are like the most common ones that I see people going there for. I'm not as sure exactly about the cost of these other procedures, but I heard that they are significantly less than in the US. So this is why there's so many people there doing it. However, I did see a ton of people in the place I was staying that had these procedures done. So what I would say is it's definitely true. There's definitely people going there like just for this reason. They're not even there to, see the mosques or anything else. They're really just there for the medical tourism. And this is also because Turkey has one of the best affordable healthcare systems in that region, and they have really, really high tech technology there as well. So the hospitals are also clean. A lot of the doctors can speak English as well as Turkish. Some of them even speak another language, so that's really valuable. And also, as you know, the costs are very affordable. So, generally, how I would recommend going about researching and ensuring that you're going to the right place is number one, are you going for a procedure or are you going for testing? So, if you have a specific procedure that you need done or that you want done, I would first research that specific procedure and people who have potentially already gone there to do that said procedure, and then ensure that the reviews for that particular hospital or clinic are good and verified by multiple people, not just like one person saying, oh, this hospital is great, or this clinic is great, or this doctor is great. No, we're looking for like hundreds or thousands of people. We're looking for, other people who have done reviews. I can only speak from the hospital that I went to, which was Memorial. So they are definitely accredited. They definitely are a clean and a high tech and English speaking hospital. They do, of course, have translators. So if you're doing just the medical testing, even if you are going for potentially a procedure, make sure that you have a translator. Make sure that the hospital, someone speaks English. They can translate your documents. They can translate to a doctor who potentially doesn't speak any English. They can also translate your bill. They can just let you know kind of generally what's going on. So that's really valuable to have and to look for. Memorial Hospital was great for the testing. The only thing I will say is if there's additional things that you want done, like last minute while you're already there and getting testing, they do tend to charge like a really specific upcharge price for all of these items. So, for example, like I mentioned before, my whole day of testing was $800 for numerous different tests and blood levels and urine and all kinds of things. Meanwhile, they found something, for example, in my liver. It was like a really small thing, and they wanted to do additional testing. So, like a specific test just on that area, right? So I said, okay, if we were just to add that on to my package, how much would that cost? Well, just to do that one little liver test was another 800 US dollars. So can you imagine my shock when I'm paying $800 for this entire day of all kinds of tests and all kinds of scans? And meanwhile, just this one additional thing is costing a lot. So I just want you to keep that in mind. So if you know that there's something wrong that you want checked or you need checked that you've already found in the US or the country you live in, what I would suggest for sure is that you check with that hospital that they do actually test for that, and then how much does that scan or that specific test cost? Because if it's not in the general medical wellness checkup like package, then it could addition be a lot of extra money. So I mean, you definitely need to check on that. Okay, so now we're touching on traveling to Turkey, follow-up care, and also costs while we're there. So if you choose to go to Istanbul, which is where I went to Memorial Hospital, they have a couple locations. One of them is newer, and they're both in the downtown area. So tons of different options, like especially budget options and more affordable long-term stay. If you are getting a procedure done, and for example, you don't want to see other people and you just want to potentially rent a room or stay in an Airbnb by yourself and just maybe rent out a whole studio or a one bedroom apartment. These are options for like 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 1 month, whatever you're looking for. This is what I would highly suggest over like a hotel. I mean, you can get a hotel. This is going to be more of your luxury option. So I saw quite a few people that had facelift, hair transplant, and nose jobs all staying in the hotel I was staying at. I was actually there for a work trip, so I was already staying in that hotel. But for example, that hotel was probably $500-600 a night. So if we have more of a budget to stick to, then I would suggest the alternative, which is staying in a hostel. There's tons in this same general area of downtown Istanbul, near where the hospitals are, and it's a cheap cab ride that way. Or I mean, if you really love walking, you could probably walk it in 20 to 30 minutes. I probably wouldn't recommend it. Their public transit is really good. So, but then again, you need to know where you're staying versus which hospital that you're going to and make sure that there is, a reasonable connection to get there. But otherwise, it's definitely more affordable than I would say having the surgery in a place like the US, and maybe the surgery costs a lot more, or maybe the testing costs a lot more. And this way you can kind of combine two, assuming that your surgery doesn't put you out for, an extended period of time. Some money saving tips I would suggest: number one, your flight. Look at times around the year that are less busy to go. I'm talking about the shoulder seasons, maybe when it's really hot or colder, because that's going to bring in less tourism, which means it's going to make your flight cheaper, which means it's going to be less crowded in the hospital. I personally went in March. This was a great time. So if that works for you, you can try like the March, April time period. The weather was quite decent as well. So I would imagine all costs across the board are going to be lower as far as like hotels, Airbnbs, not only your flights, but then on top of it, the hospital is not as busy. So whether you're getting a procedure or medical testing, you won't be there as long. For example, when I was there, the lady said to me, "Oh my gosh, we're already done." And it had only been like 4 or 5 hours. And I said, "Oh, I was told this could take like the whole day, today and tomorrow." She was like, "During the busy season, it can." So keep that in mind too if you're going to plan a procedure or testing, that you want to go anyway when there's not as many tourists coming in to do the same thing as you. Guys, tune in every Friday for the next episode. Got any value out of this video, you can go ahead, like, subscribe, leave a comment. I do read all my comments. And if you guys have any further questions about medical tourism, we can definitely do another country. This is just the only one that I have personal experience with, so I can definitely talk about it and I can definitely answer any questions about. But otherwise, have a great weekend, guys, and see you next week.
Ready to work with a travel agent but don't know where to start? You can always drop in my comments or send me an email to my business email, and I'm happy to help you guys plan your next amazing trip.